One more normalization or standardization that you can do is, you bring all the values down to a particular range. Okay. Instead of z-score will have negatives and positives, because you're going to subtract each value. You subtract from each value the mean of the column, and you divide by the standard deviation. So some values will be negative, some values will be positive. But if you don't want that, then you can specify a range and then say all the values must be squeezed into that range. And typically that range will be 0 to 1. But it need not be from 0 to 1, it can be any range. So everything will be rescaled to fit into that range. And so here is how you would do it. Okay, so here rescale variables to a 0, 1 scale. Okay, so what that means is that you take each value and from it you subtract the minimum value in the column, min of x, right? And then you divide that value by max x minus min x. That's the range in the column. Okay, so that would squeeze all the values proportionally into that range. Okay, 0 to 1. It need not be 0 to 1, as I said. You can specify 10 to 20 if you like, but typically 0 to 1 is what is normally used. Okay. Well, we can set up a code to do this one by one, but there is a library that will automatically do all of this for us, and that library is called Scales. So you have to install Scales. It's probably not already installed in R, so you have to go to install. And we will be doing this off and on. Whenever we need a library that is not already installed, then you have to install it, and then you can get a connection to it and then start using the code that is inside that library. So install and Scales. Okay. Now when you install, okay, that package will get installed, but it's not going to be available for your use unless you invoke it using the library function. So once it is done, once you have the greater than sign here in the console, then you can go and write the code. Okay, and you need to open it. Okay, again, create a chunk, and then you say library Scales. So you have to run, it's not enough to simply install the library. Installing the library will only install it in the hard drive. It is there for you to invoke it. Okay, you have to invoke it using the library code, and once you do that, then all the code that is inside Scales are now available for you to use. Okay. So now we can do Scales. So if you do rescale, okay, rescale is a method that's available. See here you have in the curly braces, it tells you which library it is coming from. Okay, it says it is part of Scales. So unless you connect to Scales library, you will not be able to use it. So Scales, and then you give a vector, which means you have to do it one column at a time. So housing.df, okay, and then say we want to do this to lot size, lot square foot. Okay, and then so the first item is what you want rescaled. Okay, what vector you want to rescale, and then you have to say how do you want to rescale it. and then here is where you give the range as a vector. So 0, 1, and here is where you can have a different scale here, but we will use 0 to 1. So when you do that, then lot square foot would be rescaled to fit into that 0, 1 using that formula that we looked at just a minute ago, using that formula. Okay. So you see that everything is between 0 and 1 now. Right? So you need to do this one column at a time, which can be a pain. So we can use a looping procedure that's available in R. Okay, and I'm not going to discuss the looping procedure in detail at this point. So I'm going to give you the code, and you just use it. Okay, so that code is called sapply. Some of you may remember sapply, lapply, mapply. Do you remember, you guys? Ian, you remember sapply? Okay, good. So here you need to specify what you want to rescale, right? So now remember, what we are trying to do is to do this for more than one column, right? So now you have to specify which columns you want this done to, okay? So again, we want all the columns except the ones that we cannot do this. We cannot do this for 13 and 14 because those two are factors. They are not numerical variables, okay? So that tells us, okay, all the columns except these two. Okay, so that's what we want. We want this done to. Okay. Then you say what is to be done to each of these columns. So this sapply, what this sapply will do, so it will take whatever columns you have specified here, which is everything except 13 and 14. So it's going to take each column, okay, one by one, and then do what you want it to do that we're going to specify there. Okay. And you have to specify that as a function. You say function x. Okay. Now x is what? Okay, sapply will take one column and put it there. So x is one column at a time. Okay. First time it is the first column, x will be the first column. And then second time, sapply will take the second column and put it into x. Third time, it will take the third column and put it into x. And that x, okay, what do we want to do with that x? We want to do the range conversion, which will be like we want to take the value of x and subtract the minimum value, okay, x, and then it's a good idea to include this even if you don't need it right now, because you're not sure, because if it is if there is a missing value, then you're going to get back missing value as the minimum, and everything will be missing then. Okay, so this is the numerator. Okay, x minus min of x. Okay, then all right, and then the denominator is max of x. Come again, NARM equal to true. Okay, let's do it this way. Okay, minus min of x na dot rm equal to true. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So S supply will take the columns that we have given here, and then for each column it will do what we are specifying here, which is converting it to the range 0 to 1. Okay. So it's doing it for all the columns, okay, except of course 13 and 14, because we put that aside with a negative C. Okay. So normalizing, you can do z-score normalizing, which comes from the base R. Okay. The scale function is part of base R. You don't need any library for that. You can do that, or you can do a range normalization using the code that I just described.